So I remember this one morning when we woke up for a morning meeting, which we do every single day at 5 o'clock a.m. And normally every single person in our family business talk about the finances. So I remember my father-in-law always goes last, and it just so happened that that morning he had a lot to say. And I remember he was like, Don, I got a surprise for you. And I was like, what's that? He said, well, basically, you've been working for the family business for the past year and a half, and I appreciate you for that, but I'm no longer writing you a check. That's done. You're basically going to have to write your own check from now on with your own company, because you're no longer leeching off of me or Sprinkler Jesus or Alakazam apps anymore. You got to step up and do it on your own. And at that exact moment, before I could even figure out how I was going to do that, literally my heart sank to the bottom of my stomach, because I had no idea how I was going to pull this off. I was so used to receiving a check and never has been in a stage of actually having to go get my own check or to really be able to provide for myself. And not to mention, I had to start thinking about it as in, yo, I had rent that I had to pay. My wife that was living inside it, that was living in the house with me, and of course she was on the phone, but the car note I had to take care of. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do all of this? And by the way, he gave me no time to even prepare for this moment. It just literally was like how a bird gets kicked out of the nest, and it's either they just got to flap their wings and like fly, or they just die. That's normally what happens. And I felt like that's what happened to me. But in the midst of me being afraid, I was also very up for the task as well. There are going to be like circumstances in your life that are basically a surprise to you. And for me, the reason why I was like so afraid too was because it wasn't just me that I had to take care of. It wasn't just my wife that was also counting on me. It was also the fact that I had my grandmother and my mother that was also here at the office as well, that I also had to account for, and they were looking up to me every single day as the one to provide and make sure that they were taken care of, because I gave them a promise to say, hey, this business thing is going to work. So I was in a very pressurized situation, but it was through that level of pressure that I had, like just all over my body, that birthed something beautiful, because it wasn't until I was underneath that much pressure, and they say like pressure makes diamonds. It wasn't until I was in that pressure when I literally was the most innovative and creative individual I could possibly be, to the point where I couldn't even sleep at night. To the point where when I used to go to sleep at 9 a.m., I would start going to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning now, 2 o'clock a.m., because my mind is up and I'm thinking about how I'm going to make these ends meet when it comes to the bills, how I'm not going to have to look my mother in the face and say, yo, you're going to have to go back to your job. And that was probably that was probably more scary to me than me failing myself was failing my mom, or my grandmother, and telling them I couldn't do it for them. I couldn't step up to be a man. So that really caused me to step up. And at that same exact time, it was funny that I found an innovative way to now create an affiliate program for the e-commerce store that I was running, which turned the business upside down, and it started generating from $3,000 to about $20,000 in monthly revenue. And I asked myself, why wasn't I able to do that before? Because I still had that same e-commerce store while I was working with the family business and running Alakazam apps, but it was because I had a safety net. And a lot of times is that as entrepreneurs, when we have a safety net, aka maybe a job that we dislike, but still trying to dibble and dabble in our business at the same time, we'll never be a full entrepreneur until that pressure really is hitting you, to the point where like your kids are looking at you every single day and saying to themselves, yo, mom, dad, how am I going to eat? And I feel like if every entrepreneur put themselves in that position, just like my father-in-law said that my check was gone, which by the way, your job really has you in that position every single day, because you don't know when they're going to say that to you either. That job is just like my father-in-law. So you put yourself in that position to where you say to yourself, yo, I'm leaving, I'm doing this. You have no idea the type of individual that you're going to become, or who you actually are and what's within you. And I didn't find that piece out until I was under that much pressure.